Keeper of the Lost Cities, Exile, Chapter 31. A mentor at the door directed Grady and Adeline to their seats in the stadium and sent Sophie down to the floor level with the other performers. Sandor tried to follow, but the mentor insisted the rehearsal area was for prodigies and faculty only. "I'll keep an eye on her," a familiar voice volunteered. Sophie grinned as she spun to face a tall mentor with olive skin and light blonde hair. "Sir Tegan?" "Just Tegan," he corrected, true to form. "You seem surprised to see me. Have you been hoping they'd find you a mentor who could actually match your incredible abilities?" "Actually, I already have that." "You're very kind, but we both know I can never match you." Sandor protested as Tegan led Sophie away, but Tegan reminded him that only mentors and prodigies were allowed where Sophie was going, and that he'd be much more useful to her by keeping an eye on the audience, where any real threat would be hiding. Sandor didn't look happy about it, but he stalked off to catch up with Grady and Adeline. "I take it you've seen the change with your telepathy session this year," Tegan said as he brought Sophie down the stairs to the cold silver room that served as the preparation area. Costumed prodigies shouted over each other, and groups of mentors struggled to line them up by grade level. "I hope you don't mind having Fitz in there with you." "No, I like Fitz. I don't like him. We're friends, not anything. It's fine," she finished, feeling her face burn. "Well, it wasn't my first choice," Tegan mumbled, fidgeting with the topaz-encrusted F pinning his bright orange cloak. "But if he can get past your blocking, I suppose it will be worth investigating. Even if he is a—" He didn't finish the sentence, but Sophie had a feeling she knew what he meant. Tegan must have been the only elf, besides Dex, who didn't admire the whackers, especially Alden. Tegan had been close friends with Prentice and had pleaded for mercy on his friend's behalf after he'd been arrested. But Alden had gone forward with the tribunal and the memory break anyway, and Tegan had never forgiven him. It had been even harder for him now that the council was working to join forces with the Black Swan, especially since Tegan had adopted Prentice's son and personally lived with the devastation of Alden and the council's decision. But now that she thought about it, she couldn't help wondering what had made him so sure of Prentice's innocence. Did he know something about the Black Swan? The question was on the tip of her tongue when Tegan told her, "I need to take my place for the ceremonies. Will you be okay if I leave you here?" He pointed to the line of level 3s. "Of course. See you Tuesday then." He'd vanished into the crowd before Sophie realized she'd forgotten to tell him about Sylvain's transmitting. She'd have to wait for their first session. She tried to imagine how it would be having her, Fitz, and Tegan alone in a small, plain telepathy room, working so closely together. Just the thought made her heart feel fluttery. She scanned the crowd to distract herself, shouting for Dex when she finally spotted him among the chaos. He shoved his way toward her, dragging 3 level 1s with him, 2 boys and a girl, all with wild strawberry blonde hair sticking out around the germline ears. "Hey," Dex said, tugging on Sophie's mastodon trunk and making a trumpeting sound. "Been looking everywhere for you." "I know, it's crazy here. I thought I'd never found you. Are these the triplets?" "Yep. Rex, Bex, and Lex. My dad thinks he's hilarious," he added, when Sophie laughed at the rhyme. "Ooh, you're Sophie," the girl who Sophie had assumed was Bex asked. "My brother talks about you all the time." "No, I don't. And get back here, Lex." Dex grabbed one of the boys by his furry collar and jerked him back to his side. "Yes, he does," the other boy, who had to be Rex, corrected, flashing a huge grin with a black space where one of his front teeth was missing. "He likes you." "I do not." "Yes, you do." Sophie stared at her furry feet as all 3 kids made kissing noises, and Dex threatened to destroy everything they owned and drag them away. "Sorry," he said when he returned germline-free. "My parents made me watch them. I didn't realize they were going to be level 1s this year." Dex never talked about his siblings. They were kind of a sore subject. Multiple births were incredibly rare in the elven world, and quite a few people thought the triplets existed because Dex's parents had been a bad match. "Yeah, I'm not happy about it." He fidgeted with his left mastodon ear, unraveling a thread at the end. I'm sorry they said that, by the way. Huh? When they said that thing about me. It's fine, they're just giving you a hard time. Her sister had been a master tormentor when she was growing up, though she actually missed it now, crazy as that sounded. Yeah, he mumbled, and they both stared at their feet until Marilla and Jency joined them in line. Marilla's ears hung crooked on her head, and she'd managed to get her furry bodysuit wrinkled. Where's Biana? Jency asked, scratching at the collar of his costume, which hung loose on his skinny frame. Marilla snorted. Ten dusters say she's hiding in the bathroom, not wanting anyone to see her in her trunk. Sure enough, Biana joined them at the last possible second, though she still looked 10 times better than everyone else. She got in behind Sophie right as the mentors called for silence. They gave instructions that didn't make any sense, probably because as a level 3, Sophie was supposed to know that stuff by now. She was glad she had Dex in front of her and could follow his lead. Dame Alina introduced each grade level as they marched into the stadium, and when all 6 levels were in position, the spotlights focused on the level 1s. Dame Alina gave a quick speech about the qualities of the prodigies would be learning that year, and then the music started, a raspy tune that sounded like it was made of muffled growls, and the level 1s skulked and somersaulted, moving uncannily like the germlin Sophie had seen at Havenfield. The audience cheered when they made their final bow, and then it was the level 2's turn. Sophie tried to pay attention as the halcyons flapped and fluttered to a melody of high-pitched chirps, but she couldn't stop thinking, we're next. Just follow me, Dex whispered as the halcyons filed away, and Dame Elena started her speech about teamwork and cleverness. Then the pounding and trumpeting songs started, and all Sophie could think was don't trip, and five, why do we have to do this? As she filed out to the corner of the stage, blinding spotlights flashed in her eyes, and Sophie braced for a migraine. But all she felt was a dull buzzing as Dex squeezed her arm to cue her. Maybe Elvin had fixed the problem. She couldn't tell for sure, but her head felt clear as she squinted at Dex to copy his movements. Her feet kept stumbling and her leg muscles burned, but she was surprised to realize she was smiling behind a stupid elephant trunk. She made the final series of twirls, nearly losing her footing, but managing to stay upright, then dipped an ungraceful curtsy. She did it! She didn't do it well, but she made it through a major school event without falling on her face, needing medical attention, or almost burning down the building. And even though she couldn't see them in the crowd, she knew Grady and Adeline were cheering for her like crazy. The rest of the dancers passed in a blur, and then Dame Alina stepped up for the closing remarks. Sophie leaned on Dex, not really listening to the speech, but something Dame Alina said caught her attention. Foxfire is about more than just a top-notch education. It's about helping your youth find their place in this world, discovering where they belong. And it is our goal that by the time they complete their studies, they are not only ready to handle whatever life throws at them, but to truly know who they are. Sophie gulped down the words like they were cold water in the scorching desert. She had the exact same goal, and for the first time in a few weeks, the future was feeling bright.